When I was 9 years old, I was first introduced to playing an instrument in elementary school band, and they've set up all the instruments, and I was drawn to the trombone. Now, what I recall is that it just looked so strange and interesting that that's what drew me to it. But it's quite possible, since I was always a tall kid, that the director kind of pushed me toward that instrument, because I was one of the few guys that could reach those long positions. Well, I took private lessons. When my parents allowed me to take an instrument, they said, you know, you're going to have to take private lessons if we're going to buy this instrument. So I, you know, was at times was challenged that, having to practice every day. But it was I got into a routine very early on, practicing. Sure. My first teacher was a guy I grew up in Cleveland, and he was a guy who was just working gigs, and one of the more well-known commercial music trombonists in the Cleveland area. His name was Billy Lang, and I took lessons with him beginning at age 9, all the way up through high school, except for 1 year. So he was a big influence. And aside from that, just when I got to be a teenager and got interested in jazz, I would try and follow all the bands that came through town around and just soaking it all in, as well as buying records and trying to find my favorite musicians. My first big influence on the trombone was Irby Green, because it was the first album I ever had that featured a jazz trombonist. The very first gig I ever got paid for was in high school. I had a little band. We used to play in the basement, and my father got us a gig at the VFW hall for Halloween. So we did like a 3-hour dance gig, which we had no idea what we were doing. You know, we had all these songs rehearsed, and we played the song 2 times through and stop, you know, and people on the dance floor like, keep going. So it was a big learning experience there, 3 hours of terror. Favorite musicians who I've never played with, you know, I'm sure there's many others, but I've never worked with Bobby Hutcherson, and I just really love the way he plays. He's one of my favorites.